let's say, opportunity to test this more complex network. We've been out there testing Volta already around 4 months, 6 months, even some trials 1 year back. We see a big potential with voice over Wi-Fi and LT broadcast in general also, and of course within the end-to-end ecosystem.
Hi, I'm Jacq from Astellia. Astellia is providing mobile network operators with probes, many probes, to monitor quality of experience of customers. And based on these KPIs, the operator is able to optimize his network. Probes were used to be deployed after the commercial launch of the features. But now, more and more of our clients are using our probes in the field trial, but even in the lab, like one of the top 4 mobile operators in the US. So maybe sorry for the main points. I'm going with my colleague, Volti for sure, the big thing coming, M2M also. Here we see that we have to focus more on the subscriber and the quality of experience here. And we need to have, I would say, pivotal points to translate quality of experience into manageable KPIs for the network.
So my name is Yagel. I come from Anite network testing, and we provide operators solutions and products to test the latest radio interfaces as well as the cellular technologies, for example, the carrier aggregation with the latest handsets capable up to 300 megs per second. And we do have also solutions for post-processing and data analytics based on the different data feeds that you can have from the networks, from the mobile, so it varies whatever you want to see. As a challenge, it seems like, well, we are well on the road with LTE, but still there's a lot to add and a lot to squeeze out from the LTE. So the biggest challenge for the operators is how to get the maximum capacity of the network based on the different types of tools and different types of methods, as well as the solutions, for example, for this kind of big venues you better have a lot of customers.
So I want to start with my first question, voice over LTE and also voice over Wi-Fi. So clearly this is a new function to test. And in a previous panel, one of the panelists said something quite interesting. You might have all the calls go through successfully, but you might see that the volume of calls goes down because subscribers are not happy. So the call is completed. So from a technical point of view, everything works fine, except that subscribers are not happy. It's like surgery going on and patient dying. How do you test for this kind of situation where the packets go through, but the subscribers is not happy, so the quality of experience is not there, even though the KPI may not reflect that accurately. And if you start having a situation where you have switched voice over LTE, and voice over Wi-Fi, and you want to see, what's the relative performance of those different interfaces for voice, how can you do that? What is the best way to measure and test that?
I would say you have to look inside the user plane. You have to look at all the information like jitter and so on. And then we have the ability to calculate the most opinion score directly from any call from the network. So this is a base to compare different access network or different areas or different vendors, network vendors in the network.
Okay, so today's smartphones are pretty capable and powerful, so you can imagine that you can have applications that are used more widely than we do currently do traditional testing where technicians go on the field and try to solve things, but you can have the applications that will help the monitoring from the network side, from the user side itself, by having the app that sits there and helps to troubleshoot if there is something wrong, for example, with the voltage. So there are solutions and applications that can be working in the background, or you can activate them to do the measurement and solve the problems that you have.
When we speak about that, measuring voltage, specifically for measuring the right MOS and the right quality experience for the user, of course, it is dependable of the voltage client that sits on that device, the operating system of that device, and even the specific firmware from the vendor, right? Because the vendors also have their own firmware depending for each network. What we are usually looking into is to provide the first incentive, and that would be the MOS itself. However, as you said, the MOS might be okay, but the user still might be unsatisfied for some reason. And what we're looking into, except where we provide we differentiate KPIs for what does it mean a signaling plane and what does it mean media plane, and etc. We're looking into solutions where somehow there would be an app in the background that can be deployed massively to all subscribers and basically return incentives directly to the network about the quality of the voice call, pricing, and data down. So I think the next turn in monitoring would be exactly that: how to massively be able to massively monitor the user experience.
Okay, moving to the network, voice over LTE is the first real application exploiting QoS. So focus has to be on verifying that the QoS really works, not only in static conditions, just a few calls, but also under a heavy loaded network. So the focus should be really to verify the network under realistic traffic conditions, meaning a lot of users doing data transfer and verifying that the voice calls are not impacted by ground data traffic. That is, that the network correctly shapes the traffic. In case we have a lot of data traffic, the data traffic is shaped, is reduced in terms of throughput, while preserving the voice quality appearance. And that's exactly what is possible to measure with simulation realistically under a heavily loaded network. And also it's a mean to optimize the network, because it means that the network is used in the most efficient way by profiting from keeping the voice on the right quality side, while also maximizing the traffic in the ground, data traffic that can be shaped without a lot of impact on the user experience. That's a good way to proceed, and of course shows also which are the limitations of the current over-the-top application like Skype, which falls into the background data category, that is under a heavily loaded condition. They are shaped so voice over Skype performs not so well, while still voice over LTE is kept at high level quality. Also the optimization are verified, because of course with voice over LTE there are a lot of optimization coming from robust header compression, which means that data throughput is minimized from the voice, going to also a lot of specific optimization on the network and on the radio, like semi-persistent scaling and DRX, discontinuous reception, or other features that give a great optimization of the voice, but of course they have to be verified in order to show that the design of the network follows what are the requirements for quality of service of the voice.
And this is a challenge. We've seen testing go from individual interfaces, individual nodes, to maybe a few multiple nodes, a few features. And in the last couple of years, what we've seen is the network operators have decided this stuff all has to play together. And the challenge has been piecing together all these parts. That, we don't do everything they need to have done. piecing together all these parts to do the end-to-end quality, I think is one of the biggest challenges right now. And we're seeing that trend where we're seeing more and more integrated testing with multiple interfaces, multiple nodes, but there's still a lot of challenges.
Yeah, and I think that, you will raise a very important issue that you need to understand end-to-end, because there's something that can interact at different levels. And really what you care is the experience at the end for the user. This is really what we care about, what mobile operators really care about. And so the question is, if there is a problem there, you need to be able to backtrack. So you need to, as I say, you need to have more integrated.
Those things come up after they went through a series of tests and think they got certain things done, then suddenly over the top API type stuff comes along or something like that, Wi-Fi, which is still, as I understand, there's still a lot of work to be done, but yet it's also a very critical part of in the future for all this stuff to work. The old can you hear me type of thing. So, and there's just a lot of challenges there.
Yeah, and a lot of the performance depends on the application. So some applications are more timing than others. So the measure performance is also different. But also, I would say that you're not going to be able in a network that is capacity constrained, resource constrained, to make everybody happy. So you can test to see what's the performance like through optimization point of view. Eventually, you can just make sure everything is okay, everything works well for everybody. Because if everybody in the network wants to do video, well, there's not enough resources. So there is a question of it's not a question whether it works or not. What are the right trade-offs as well?
Well, I think too, you're going to see more and more, perhaps more and more customer-specific responses and implementations for some of these things that are coming up that may have a negative effect on the test that's done before. You may have to go back and see how that was done with what you already done.
Well, when you're monitoring, of course, there's I think you need to see that try not to look at the individuals, but then there's some that you get out from the certain venues. But then looking at the venues, for example, it might be that you need to do the basic work very well there, since you might now have the solution where you have the bowl of the radio, which is let's say a little bit full of some percentage of that bowl is already full of some radio dirt. So even though you know that the maximum of that carrier could be X megabits or gigabytes per hour, since you have the dirt there based on some fundamental issues, you don't get that. So you need to be very careful in the beginning, as well as then trying to fine-tune the algorithms that will guide the traffic from different types of applications in a smart way. And when we looked at the HSDPA, well, we didn't see that good radio resource management algorithms coming into place, so hopefully that will happen with the LTE, where we have even more dimensions, but still the power and interference to play with.
Any comments? Any questions from the audience? We have a question over here. Hold on, the mic is coming.
Kelly Elwood, RCR Wireless News. What impact do you see minimization of drive testing having for LTE as part of the standard?
Drive testing?
Minimization of drive testing.
Also,
minimization of drive testing is part of the standard?
Right. Well, I can begin because it's us. It's an area where, in the beginning when you introduce the technologies, anyway, before you switch on the power, you need to make sure the technologies, the big technologies, really work well. And there's a lot of work to be done on that area as well. Then you have also the vendors who are offering, on top of these big things, a number of other things that can make the operation of the mobile within the multi-layer network fluid or not, and then how much do you get capacity about that. So there's not a lot of testing needed before you start deploying it widely. After that, it comes to monitoring, and then it's a matter of combining different pieces of the information. And the MDT, when it comes then more widely available, it requires certain release of release 10 terminals that will report, you will get the data. So it adds another wider view with the subset of the data available to operators from the data analytics.
Yes, what is interesting in LTE is that the Keynote itself is able to send a call trace from the what we call the trace port. So the monitoring system is able to grab all this data, and indeed you perform drive tests. Indeed, your subscriber are performing your drive test, because we know that data consumption is indoor, at home or at work. So the only way to drive test this is to be monitoring what is going on the node end to end. Because if we are talking about VoLTE, we need to have a good radio, RF, but also a good EPC core and a good IMS. And usually there are not the same vendors, different vendors. And when it comes with a problem, you need to prove one vendor that is faulty for this end-to-end call trace is a proof that yes, your equipment is not corresponding to the 3G standard, for example.
Any questions? Well, let me ask you, with the introduction of LTE Advanced, we don't have all the operators doing the same thing and different kinds of pick and choose whatever tools, but how is the testing going to be affected?